My wife, Chloe, told me she had fallen in love with an intern from her company. In the settlement, she gave me the car, the house, and all of our shared money. She walked away with only her divorce certificate. Leo, I can't be unfaithful to Ethan, she said, and I don't want to betray you either. I looked at this woman, the same one who had once squeezed into a tiny, rented room with me, sharing bowls of instant noodles and promising that we would be together forever. I felt a sting in the corner of my eye and wiped it away, then softly said, "All right." Hearing me agree so quickly seemed to stun Chloe for a moment. It was as if she hadn't expected me to let go so easily. I think she had prepared herself for a major conflict, for me to refuse and drag things out. She was ready for a lawsuit or a long, silent standoff. That was always her way. She never hesitated when she wanted something. It was the same back when we were young. She decided she liked me and was willing to fight for me, to pull me out of a difficult home situation. "If you want to bother Leo, you'll have to get through me first," she had declared once, smashing a bottle over the head of a young man who was threatening me. Glass flew everywhere, and her fierce look was enough to make the group of thugs back down. They hesitated, then let me go and left. They had only been trying to intimidate me into paying off my mother's gambling debts, not cause serious harm. Later, as I dabbed at the cuts on her hand, my heart ached with worry, but she just smiled proudly and pulled me into a hug. "Leo, I told you," she whispered. "I like you, and I won't let anyone push you around." But now, she didn't like me anymore. She had fallen for the new intern. Chloe opened her mouth to speak, a flicker of guilt finally showing in her eyes. "Leo, I know I've wronged you, but I truly like Ethan. I can't let him be known as the man who broke up a marriage. I want to be with him properly." She was as direct now as she had always been, approaching 30 with the same determined spirit of her youth. It was a kind of nobility, I suppose. Who could argue against true love? But I had one simple question for her. I wiped my eyes again and managed a small smile. "Just one thing," I asked. "Did your Ethan only find out today that you were married?" I remembered her complaints when the new assistant started. She said he was clumsy and timid, like a kitten, and she wasn't happy with his work. Then, she got upset over the Valentine's Day gift he had helped pick out for me. "Who gives a toy robot for Valentine's Day?" she had complained. But her so-called clumsy assistant had looked up with wide, innocent eyes and said, "But I think it's really cool." Chloe had laughed, a little exasperated, but I saw the fondness in her eyes even then. Eventually, she told me that Ethan truly liked her, and she felt that such a sincere person deserved the best. To give him that, she needed to be single so they could be together openly. But as she explained it, she didn't want the innocent Ethan to be labeled a homewrecker. So, I had to wonder, when their feelings started to grow, was he really unaware that she was married? My question seemed to catch her off guard. Her expression went blank for a second before she turned away. "Leo, it was an emotional thing that we couldn't control. But I promise you, up until that point, nothing inappropriate happened. We have nothing to feel guilty about." I suppose office banter wasn't cheating. Defending him at meetings and giving him rides home wasn't either. Standing up for him when he felt discouraged wasn't cheating in the technical sense. I sighed and nodded. "Fine, let's get the divorce." Chloe didn't want any of our assets. She gave me the house, the car, and the money, asking for nothing but the divorce decree. What reason did I have to be upset? She finally seemed to relax, a relieved smile spreading across her face. "Leo, I knew you would understand. I knew you'd let us be happy together." Of course, she knew. From the time we were 18 until we were 28, it had always been me. We dated for 4 years and were married for 5. I've always had a gentle nature and I'm not one to hold on to anger, especially not when we were teenagers. Chloe used to complain that I didn't really like her because I never showed any jealousy. She was so frustrated once that she avoided me for 3 whole days. When she finally reappeared, she looked defeated. "Leo, you win," she said, her head hanging low. "I really do like you. Even if you don't care about me, I'm willing to follow you." That was when I finally pulled her into a tight hug. She didn't know that I had spent those 3 days searching for her everywhere, growing more desperate by the hour. Holding her, I was terrified of losing her. "You said it, so don't leave me," I whispered. I was scared. She froze, then a look of pure delight washed over her face as she wrapped her arms around my neck, smiling as if she had just won a great victory. "I thought you really didn't care at all. You're so calm, just like a cat." After that, We went to the same university, graduated, and moved into that tiny apartment, surviving on cheap noodles. When we started our company, we worked tirelessly to secure our first clients. Once things were stable, she proposed. We got our marriage license and had a beautiful wedding because, as she said, I like Leo, and Leo deserves the best. Now, with our life settled, she held a divorce certificate and said, Leo, don't blame me. Ethan deserves the best. The intern was waiting a short distance away. He looked delicate and a little shy, as if I were somehow intimidating him. Chloe noticed my gaze and instinctively moved to stand in front of him. Ethan is timid. If you have a problem, talk to me, don't scare him. Ethan blushed and spoke to me directly. Leo, don't mind her. She just has a strong personality, but she doesn't mean any harm. The way he spoke, so familiarly, you would think he was the one who had spent a decade with her, not me. It felt like I was the outsider. In that moment, the truth was, I was. Looking at the scene in front of me, any bitterness I felt had faded into numbness. I held up the divorce certificate and smiled. Don't worry about it. We won't be seeing each other again anyway. For some reason, Chloe frowned at my words. Leo, even if we're divorced, we can still be friends. If you ever need anything, you can call me. Beside her, Ethan's smile faltered. I didn't react, just shook my head. There's no need. I won't have any problems. And even if I did, I wouldn't come to you. After all, she had nothing now. No money, no power. What good would it do to ask her for help? Besides, I didn't make a habit of involving myself with married women. That last comment made both of their faces turn pale, and they looked at me defensively. Ethan tried to change the subject, turning to Chloe as he got into what used to be her passenger seat. He then asked me, with a tone of forced kindness, Where are you heading, Leo? Chloe can give you a ride. My wife had just left me for a younger man, and now he was offering me a lift in my own car. I politely declined and drove my Land Rover to the fertility center. The doctor I had an appointment with was waiting and handed me a new report. Mr. Leo, he said, it appears the IVF treatment you and Chloe began has been successful. The embryo is developing well. Chloe had left me the cars, the house, and a child she would never know about. After the divorce was finalized, I followed through with my original business plan and relocated the company's headquarters to City A. Word got around that Chloe had given up everything for a younger man. The company she had built from the ground up handed over without a second thought. Her husband, too, was gone. Her wedding to Ethan was a major event, even live-streamed on public screens in City B. She may have walked away with nothing, but she still had connections. Many of our mutual friends, feeling indignant on my behalf, attended the ceremony. They couldn't believe that after a 10-year relationship, she would remarry so lavishly less than 6 months after our separation. They saw it as a deliberate act to humiliate me. Online, people were calling Ethan her true love and me a mere stepping stone, a choice she made out of convenience rather than passion. I could only laugh at that. The people who knew us understood the partnership Chloe and I had, how we faced every challenge together. The idea that I was some freeloader was ridiculous. The live stream was popular, and the comment section was active. This is like something out of a novel. The heroine finally dumps the boring side character for the real male lead. How sweet. I bet that greasy ex-husband is crying in a corner somewhere. Serves him right. If it weren't for him, the happy couple wouldn't have had to go through so much. I soon realized that Ethan had been documenting his relationship with Chloe online, and they had become a popular couple with many followers. People saw them as the perfect match between a sensitive, puppy-like young man and a powerful female CEO. They wished the creepy side character, me, would just disappear, so the real couple could have their happy ending. In a way, they got their wish. I had lost my family. My father passed away when I was young, and my gambling-addicted mother had died 3 years ago. I was alone now, with nothing but my work, my growing child, and the quiet solitude of my new life. To our mutual friends who kept sending me pictures and updates, I simply said, "Please don't send these anymore. I've moved on." I never told them that Chloe had sent me an invitation to her wedding. She called me and said, "Leo, we're still friends, aren't we? Don't you want to see me happy?" Ethan got on the phone then, his voice soft. "Leo, you're not still upset, are you? It wasn't wrong for me to win Chloe's heart, was it?" His tearful tone seemed to make Chloe even more defensive. "Leo, do we have to be on bad terms? We were together for so long. Can't we just be friends?" I laughed quietly. I hadn't said a word, mostly out of respect for the assets she had left me. Did my silence make them think I was a pushover? I've always been a patient person, not one for arguments. So, even then, I kept my voice calm. Friends? Sure, why not? I wasn't originally planning to go, but since you're insisting, I'll be sure to send a gift. They seemed pleased by my response. We knew you weren't the petty type, Leo. I tuned out the rest of their conversation and blocked their numbers. My doctor had advised me that too much stress wasn't good for the baby's development. Later, I heard that on the day of the wedding, the bride seemed distracted, constantly looking towards the entrance as if waiting for someone who never arrived. That is, until she received a delivery during the live-streamed ceremony, 99 funeral wreaths from her ex-husband. The cards attached read, "May you be happy, and congratulations on your new family." But that wasn't my concern anymore. 7 years passed. True to my word, I had cut off all contact with Chloe. I never expected to see her again, especially not at an art exhibition in City A. I was there with my daughter Lily, holding her hand as we looked at the paintings. She is a pale, sweet-looking girl, not one to cry easily, but she has a fiery spirit. She doesn't hesitate to stand up for herself when other children say cruel things, like calling her a motherless child. We'd had to deal with this before. When confronted, the other parents were often just as defiant. My kid isn't wrong. You don't have a wife, so your kid doesn't have a mom. It's a fact. I would always try to reason with them. Let's not shout. We can discuss this calmly. But they would dismiss me. She was born to a mother who abandoned her. Clearly, your child is undisciplined. The wife of one man was a high-level manager, and they felt untouchable. Their son had gotten away with bad behavior before, once nearly injuring another child. They jabbed a finger in my direction. So what if I said it? Who do you think you are? Just wait until my wife gets here. I sighed and made a quiet call to my assistant. Half an hour later, the once smug couple was desperately begging me to spare the wife's career. I held my daughter close, feeling a sense of helplessness. People always said I was a nice person, so why wouldn't they just listen? Is this your wife? I had asked my assistant, Mr. Yutain. Chen, who had just arrived. Stop standing there. Kneel when you speak to me. The woman he was paying a significant salary to dared to act so arrogantly in front of me. When she first burst through the door, she had been aggressive, demanding that the principal deal with me. You let a widower's child into this school? Aren't you afraid of bad luck? Then she saw me sitting there calmly, and her legs nearly gave out when she recognized me. Leo. She finally remembered that her reclusive boss was, in fact, a widower with a child. She knelt quickly, long before her husband understood what was happening. Leo? What Leo? The man asked, sensing something was wrong. I sipped my tea and looked up. I wasn't aware that Sarah and her husband were so hot-tempered. Sarah, knowing her husband's sharp tongue, began to sweat. Leo, it's all a misunderstanding, she stammered, stumbling over her husband. The imposing man went pale. Yes, a misunderstanding, he stuttered, forcing a stiff smile as he pulled his son toward him. Just a child talking nonsense. Sarah shot her son a look. Apologize. Now. Even the most spoiled child is no match for adult intimidation. He quickly started crying and apologizing. My daughter, Lily, just turned her head away, silent and defiant. Sarah managed to smile. They've learned their lesson. Leo is known for his good temper. He never argues. Don't worry, I'll discipline him properly when we get home. She knew me well. I never argue. I always speak calmly, just as I did then, nodding with satisfaction. As long as you educate your child properly, that's what matters. Every single parent deserves respect. Besides, the fault lies more with you adults. I set my teacup down, smiling warmly at her like a concerned boss. As I understand it, tuition here is quite expensive. I imagine with Sarah's talents, she will find another high-paying job elsewhere soon, right? Sarah's smile froze on her face. As I walked away holding my daughter, I could hear her pleas mingling with her husband's and son's cries behind me. My phone buzzed with a message from my assistant. Leo, as per your instructions, Sarah's resignation is being processed. I replied without emotion. Compensate her according to her contract, but make sure she is blacklisted from the industry. A swift confirmation came back. I am an easygoing person. From the moment I realized that arguing solves nothing, I have never raised my voice at anyone. Instead of wasting time on words, I prefer decisive action. In the car, my little girl nestled against my neck, still upset about the earlier remarks. "Daddy, don't be scared," she whispered. "Even without a mom, Lily will fight the bad guys and protect you." Such a sweet, sensible child. It made my heart ache. I patted her head gently to calm her down. Now, at this art exhibit, where I had hoped to relax with her, I heard a surprised voice call my name. "Leo?" I turned around and saw Chloe. She looked nothing like the confident woman I once knew. It made sense. Back when we started our business, we were at the top of our game. But the market had changed, and starting over wasn't so easy. She had lost weight and her carefree boldness was gone, but she still wore a sharp suit, though it had wrinkles that couldn't quite be ironed out. Beside her stood Ethan, dressed in casual clothes. "What are you doing here?" I asked, puzzled. I knew the exhibition was an invitation-only event. Chloe didn't seem to hear my question. "I've been trying to find you for years, Leo," she said, her voice happy. "It's a relief to see that you're okay." "What's there to be worried about?" I replied. "How have you been all these years?" Chloe asked cautiously. I had almost forgotten. After taking over the company and focusing on raising my child, I had chosen to keep a low profile. While I was still running things, someone else was listed as the public-facing director. Chloe probably assumed that I hadn't managed well without her and had sold the company. I didn't feel the need to explain. "I'm doing fine," I said simply. I then asked politely, "And you?" Chloe paused before she could answer. Ethan quickly took her arm. "We're doing well too. Thanks for asking, Leo. But let's not pry too much into a married woman's life." His weariness was obvious, and his tone was petty. It was funny how he hadn't seemed to care that she was married when they first started their affair. Chloe once found his jealousy endearing. Now, she just furrowed her brow. "I'm just catching up with Leo. Why are you making a fuss?" Her irritation was a stark contrast to the adoration she once showed him. Ethan's expression froze. He had lived a simple life, sheltered by Chloe since college, and his self-esteem was fragile. Her public rebuke, especially over me, was humiliating. Sadly, he resorted to his old tactic. His eyes welled up with tears as he bit his lip. "You still look down on me, don't you? I'm not as capable as him, not as considerate. But you once said that I would always be number one in your heart." He didn't get to finish his sentence. The woman who used to dote on him now didn't have the patience to listen. "If you know you're not good enough, then why say anything?" she said bluntly. I smiled politely and took a step back to distance myself from their argument. "Seeing as you two have personal matters to discuss, I'll leave you to it." In my mind, I was already planning to ask the security staff how they had allowed these people to get in. Unfortunately, they weren't ready to let me go. Ethan, pushed to his limit, began to cry. Tears that once made Chloe's heart melt now only seemed pitiful. "You finally said what you really think, didn't you? You liar. Didn't you promise you loved me most?" He clung to her arm, refusing to let go. This was an important event, and his outburst was drawing unwanted attention. Several people shot irritated glares in their direction. Chloe, who was used to being the center of admiration, was embarrassed. "Can you not embarrass yourself like this?" she hissed through gritted teeth. She couldn't believe she once found this man charming. She was only now learning the lesson that a man with grace, like Leo, was for keeps, while a man like Ethan was just for fun. As she fumed internally, she turned her focus back to me, about to say something, when a small voice cut through the tension. "Dad, who are they?" The scene went silent. The quarreling couple finally noticed Lily holding my hand, her face expressionless. "A child." Chloe's voice trembled as she stared at Lily's face, which bore a faint resemblance to her own. "Leo, this child is?" She didn't want to admit it, but the resemblance was undeniable. Before I could say anything, a look of ecstatic realization crossed Chloe's face. Ethan caught on, and his already fragile composure shattered completely. "A kid? You went and had a kid?" he shouted, his voice turning vicious. "You're just using a child to try and win Chloe back, aren't you? You squandered the company and all of Chloe's money, and now you're hoping she'll take you back for this kid's sake. Shameless." He sounded as if a dam had broken, venting all the frustrations he had held back. "How did a person like you even get into an event like this? Don't you know Chloe and I are about to get back on top? Once her business deal here is finalized, we'll be rich again." "But why, Leo? Why do you always have to show up? Security, where is the security? Get them out of here. He was hysterical. As a security guard approached, Ethan arrogantly pointed at me and Lily. Kick them out. If your boss finds out you let someone like him in, you'll all be in trouble. The security guard looked confused and then turned to me. Mr. Saul, he said respectfully, they have invitations. We didn't anticipate this. Saul was the artistic pseudonym I used. I was the main organizer and host of this exhibition. The elusive invitation they had been chasing for a partnership was, in essence, an invitation to meet with me. The guard continued his explanation amidst the chaos. I just shook my head. The invitations are fine. It's not your fault. It was my mistake. I had been busy with Lily lately, and my new assistant wasn't fully aware of my personal history. When he mentioned a promising project with an interesting entrepreneur, I didn't ask for details and just agreed to the meeting. I knew things wouldn't end well for Chloe when she bravely walked away from everything for the sake of what she called love. She was always confident, believing she could start from scratch and succeed again. But she forgot that opportunities are rare. I just hadn't expected her to fall so far. How could he be Saul? Ethan was the first to snap out of his shock, refusing to believe it. He's just a guy who got ahead by relying on a woman. Without Chloe, he should be broke. How could he be Saul? He couldn't accept that the successful artist and businessman in front of him was me. Admitting it would mean admitting his own failure and misjudgment. Saul, how do you wish to handle this? The head of security asked, looking only at me. Chloe looked from him to me, her expression shifting from shock to delight. Leo, I knew you wouldn't sell the company we built together. Let's talk. With my new plan, we can take the company to new heights. We can work together again, just like before. For the first time, her presence was just annoying. Throw them out, I said calmly. The large security guards were eager to prove their worth. They each grabbed one of them and unceremoniously escorted them out, right in front of everyone. Isn't that the famous Chloe from City B? Someone whispered. I heard she divorced her husband for an intern. I thought she must be doing great, but it looks like she ended up with nothing. Chloe had always cared about her pride, but that day, she lost all of it. As she lay on the ground outside, she glared at Ethan, who was still cursing my name, unable to accept that I was thriving without her. Ignoring him, she walked toward the back of the building and saw Lily being escorted out by another guard. A hopeful look crossed her face. She rummaged through her pockets and found a piece of candy. It was probably something Ethan had put there long ago when they were first flirting. He used to sneak candy into her bag every day. Are you treating me like a kid? She had scoffed, but he had just grinned. You work so hard. A little sweet treat will make you smile. It was a thoughtful gesture, the kind of thing that had made her fall for him. Lily, you're Lily, right? She said, approaching my daughter with what she must have thought was a kind smile. I'm your mom. Lily looked up at her, her gaze cold. Lady, why are you being so weird? The bodyguard moved to escort Chloe away, but she quickly tried to explain. Lily, I really am your mother. There was a misunderstanding between your dad and me. He's upset, but now that I know you exist, I understand how much he must have cared about us. Don't you want your daddy to be happy? Let's go surprise him together, okay? Even looking downtrodden, she was still charming. Lily tilted her head. Really? Of course, Lily, Mommy loves you, Chloe said, reaching out with a beaming smile. Lily smiled back, but then her expression went flat. Get rid of her, she said plainly to the bodyguard. The guard didn't hesitate. Chloe was pushed to the ground, struggling. Lily, I'm your mom, your real mom. So you're the one who made my daddy sad, Lily said calmly. You're a bad person. I won't believe you. It's a misunderstanding, Chloe pleaded. I was tricked too. Your dad must have said bad things about me because he was angry, but I don't blame him. I'll make it right with both of you. Before she could finish, Lily looked down at her. Miss, surely you didn't think my dad wouldn't tell me everything, did you? Chloe had assumed I would have hidden the truth to protect our child, giving her an opening to win Lily over. But she underestimated me, and she underestimated my daughter. Dad told me all about you when I asked where my mom was, Lily stated. You're the person who left him for a bad man, and I'm going to help Dad deal with you. I had never sugarcoated the truth. Lily had a right to know, and it was better she heard it from me. Don't you miss having a mom at all? Chloe asked, desperate. Raising me was Dad's job, Lily said, her voice firm. Going to parent-teacher meetings was Dad's job. Teaching me to walk and talk was Dad's job. Why would I turn my back on my dad for a stranger? When Lily returned, she took my hand. Weren't you going to the restroom? I asked. What took so long? She looked up, clutching her stomach. I had a tummy ache. Dad, can you carry me? I didn't suspect a thing and lifted her into my arms, missing the quiet, triumphant smirk she gave over my shoulder. Later that evening, after putting her to bed, I finally had time to work. Are you keeping an eye on her? I asked my assistant. He nodded. Yes. After she found out who you were, she came to the company demanding to see you. Then throw her out, I said. And let it be known that any company that signs a deal with Chloe can forget about working with us. Anyone who hires her is making an enemy of me. And I don't mind a fight. My assistant looked surprised, not because he hesitated, but because of the intensity of my order. Leo, are you really going to go this far? Why not? I replied. What's the point of letting her off easy? She cheated and he was her accomplice. You have to deal with threats when they're down. Why give them a chance to recover? I am not one for arguments, but that doesn't mean I don't hold a grudge. When Chloe left, I took the assets and let her go. What she did with Ethan was her business, but they shouldn't have come back. One tried to manipulate my daughter, and the other called her an illegitimate child. If I didn't teach them a lesson, I couldn't maintain my position in this city. My instructions were followed swiftly. In the business circles of City A, my influence was significant. No one was willing to alienate me for a middle-aged woman trying to make a comeback. Chloe found every door slammed in her face. Ethan, meanwhile, watched her return home defeated every day. Weren't you supposed to be so amazing? Why can't you even compete with Leo? He would taunt. His online persona of a doting husband to a rich wife was his only source of validation, and if Chloe couldn't succeed, his fantasy world would collapse. Leo was a good partner. Chloe sneered back at him in their rundown apartment. What are you? Just someone waiting for a handout. Ethan, if you hadn't pursued me, I never would have divorced Leo. Pursued you? Ethan laughed bitterly. Did I force you to cheat on him? You wanted everything, and now you have nothing. Don't think you can just dump me and go back to him. I'll make your life miserable. It was an empty threat. Chloe was now focused on trying to get to me. One afternoon, after being rejected for yet another proposal, she saw me leaving a hotel. She ran towards me, only to be stopped by my bodyguards. Leo, is it you? Do you really hate me this much? She cried. I'm Lily's mother. What do you gain by making my life so difficult? It makes me happy, I replied instantly, a small smile on my face as I watched her expression freeze. Your misery brings me joy. Isn't that how it works with divorced couples? I can change, Leo. I know I was wrong. This project is everything to me. If I fail, I'll have nothing left. That sounds like good news, I said cheerfully. She finally seemed to realize that I was truly done with her. Cornered, she lashed out. Do you have to be so cruel? I shook my head. No, I could be much harsher. This is just the beginning. You were never like this before, she said, her voice filled with disbelief. You weren't cheating on me before, I reminded her. No matter what, I am still Lily's mother. Aren't you afraid she'll blame you for this when she grows up? Do you even want Lily to acknowledge you as her mother? I asked seriously. Of course I am her mother. Fine, I said. Her living expenses, classes, and tuition come to over $1 million a year. If you want to be acknowledged, you can start by paying your share of child support for the past 7 years. It's not much. Just a few million. She left in a rage, shouting, You pushed me to this, Leo. Don't you regret it? As she walked away, my assistant looked at me with concern. Leo, if you push her this hard, what if she does something drastic? I watched her retreating figure. If you don't push hard enough, how will you know what they're capable of? That very night, Ethan's social media, which had been quiet for a year, was updated with new photos of him and Chloe looking happy together. His followers flocked back. They're back! So happy for you! Under one comment, Ethan replied. There were some unexpected issues, but it doesn't matter. Chloe loves me, not someone who schemes to take her from me. We are very happy. Speculation began to fly, with the most liked comment asking if her greasy ex-husband was causing trouble again. 3 days later, Chloe walked into the office of my main competitor. At the same time, my assistant knocked on my door. Leo, Here are the materials for the upcoming bid. I glanced through them. By the way, I asked, has Sarah's resignation been finalized? She was resisting, he said, but she suddenly agreed yesterday, said she found a new job with the competition. Of course, our rivals wouldn't heed my warnings. The evening before the bidding event, Ethan posted a video. He looked worn out and pitiful. I never wanted to cause any trouble, he began, tears in his eyes. But I have no choice. Leo, I know you're watching. I know you're bitter that Chloe chose me. But don't use your child as a weapon. We are suing for custody. No matter how heartless you are, Chloe is still her biological mother, and I will treat her as my own. The internet exploded. The narrative shifted, and I was painted as a villain. While my team prepared to handle the PR crisis, my daughter, who had seen the posts, was furious and wanted to fight back. I told her to play some games and that we would deal with it after the bid. The bidding process itself was quick. On my way in, I ran into Chloe, her new boss, and her new colleague, Sarah. James, Sarah mocked. Instead of making a scene, maybe you should focus on cleaning up those nasty rumors. I smiled kindly at her. I just wanted to remind you, I said, looking at her new CEO. I heard your company is struggling. You'd better hope this deal works out, or you might not be able to pay your own child's tuition. To the CEO, I added, her husband left her, her kids are gone, and soon the money might be too. Watch your step. He looked furious. James, don't burn your bridges. I just chuckled. It came as no surprise that their proposal was a slightly altered version of one of my company's old internal plans. It was clear that Sarah had stolen it. Coupled with the public scandal, the outcome was predictable. They won the bid. On stage, Chloe looked triumphant, basking in her victory. I watched her for a moment before turning to leave. The first thing I did was release the evidence I had gathered years ago from the private investigator, photos of Chloe and Ethan together while we were still married, and records of her using our joint funds to buy him an apartment. I posted it all online, along with a copy of the legal IVF documentation proving Lily was conceived before our divorce. Public opinion flipped dramatically. The romantic story they had sold was exposed as a lie. Alexander offered no rebuttal. The evidence was undeniable. He had likely assumed a few hours of dragging my name through the mud would be worth it once their bid was approved and the money started rolling in. And for a while, it seemed to work for them. The project was funded, and Chloe was back on top, pulling Ethan along with her into a life of luxury. He even called me once to gloat. You think you've won, Leo? Who cares about a social media account? Chloe has money now. We can do anything. I was about to board a plane with Lily for a vacation. Well, best of luck to you both, I said blandly. As the plane was taking off, I made one last call to my financial team. It's getting chilly, I said calmly. I think the Wilton Corporation should go under. The next day, their thriving project hit a wall. Unpaid bills surfaced, the primary investor vanished, and the company was left to cover a massive, bottomless financial pit. Within 2 weeks, they declared bankruptcy. Chloe's triumphant peak turned into a crash from which she could never recover. On our way back from vacation, I asked Lily, Honey, does it ever bother you that you don't have a mother? She looked up at me with her bright eyes. With all the love from you, Daddy, and all this money, how could I ever feel like something is missing? Money isn't love, I teased. If you have lots of money, there's lots of love, she replied with surprising wisdom. And I will always love you, Daddy. I'll make lots of money for you when I grow up. Reassured, I dropped her off at school. On my way to the office, my car was blocked by Chloe and a disheveled-looking Ethan. This is all your fault, he yelled, glaring at me. You planned all of this. You ruined me. What did I do? I asked, playing dumb. Now I've lost everything, he ranted. Chloe, buried in debt, tried to use Lily as a final bargaining chip. Leo, I'm Lily's real mother. Please, help me just this once. I helped by calling the police to report a public disturbance. They were both taken away. We probably won't meet again. I've instructed company security to permanently blacklist them from all my properties. The original sign was to read, "No dogs or these two allowed," but the staff felt it was discriminatory towards dogs. So we dropped that part. They remain banned, left to fade away in the mess they created.